Welcome to the Fit 360 podcast. In this podcast, you'll hear from the top personal trainers and respected wellness practitioners in the space. They'll be talking about stuff like how moving your body is essential to a robust well-being, how to age with strength and with grace, how to nourish your mind and body through good nutrition versus the latest fad diets, and so much more. If you want to deep dive into a lifestyle of trainers and those who assist in true healthcare, then you're in the right place. This place was created for you to help you improve your future well-being.
Back at it again with Fit 360 podcast. Welcome, family. Today, man, I have a special guest here. We're gonna kick it, vibe out today, and see what kind of conversation we can have that can benefit you guys. You know what I mean? I want to welcome you guys to this amazing conversation between me, Fitz, and Tori. So Tori, man, tell the people a little bit about yourself.
A little bit about me. Well, I'm one of the fitness trainers here out of Fit 360. I'm a native, which is somehow I'm learning to be quite odd and a rarity. Even though we're in Atlanta, a lot of people, when I tell them I was born actually in Atlanta, they be like, "Man, you were born here?" Yeah. You should expect to see people from Atlanta like that.
Yeah, what? I don't get it.
You know what I think? I think that there was this thing, like when I was coming up, a lot of Atlanta natives left as people was coming in. At least people from my age group. I left in the late 90s.
Okay.
I joined the Army back in 1999 after high school. And I guess around that time, it was the height of Atlanta's growth. So a lot of people was coming down here after the 1996 Olympics.
Oh, you're migrating to Atlanta, yeah.
Yeah. So
what time? What year was that?
96 for the Olympics, but I left.
Right, it was right after the Olympics. Yeah. People came down the Olympics, saw what Atlanta was about. Like, shit, man, I want to move here.
Man, I had a lot of friends. I met so many people from New York, actually, specifically that live next door to me. Mm-hmm. They're always from New York, and they kind of like inspired me to want to leave.
So you went to the Army. What was that like?
The Army, you know, it's funny. It was everything that I expected. I know a lot of people, you know, probably have their differences on it, but I didn't even want to join, man. Like my father, like kind of like was the guiding light and like trying to get me to do something constructive.
Okay.
You know, I didn't grow up wanting to join the military because I wanted to go to art school. I was an artist. You know, I had, you know,
maybe an artist like painting,
illustrator. So my specialty in artistic stuff was comic books and storytelling. Mm-hmm. So coming up, I was good at telling stories, and I just illustrate comic books to correlate with the story that I create. Cool. Just the imagination stuff. So I wanted to go to college. The recruiter told me like, "Yo, in exchange for a couple of years in the Army, man, we'll pay for that specialty you want to do." You know, 9/11 happened. You know, and I really bit the patriotic bug when that happened. When the planes flew at the towers.
Oh, really? Okay.
It wasn't no. I'm gonna do 3 years to come on. I was like, we got vengeance. They did what? Right. Okay, I want my slice of history. And that's how. I ain't gonna lie. That's the kind of person that I am. I would say the Army pulled that out of me.
You were already that.
Protecting
your country and.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like my father kind of used to. He used to say certain things and stuff. So, you know, it's kind of like, I call it the Mike Tyson theory. If you ever...
Say more.
So, Mike Tyson, as savage as he was, you remember in the beginning when he was on the custom model, if you watch his biopic, he was timid. Mm-hmm. Think about it. Mike Tyson was timid. He didn't even understand like the type of like power he had, kind of like just driven inside of him. Mm. So I kind of felt like that in the military because it was people that was my same age, 17, 18, 19, that my people see that like there's like I need some like growth. I need to be around different people. You ain't really getting that from nobody your same age. I was one of them kind of people. So I kind of had to go, and the kick off the ledge had to happen for me to kind of like get into that world in the military and see that kind of fire that I had in me that I didn't even know. And then people say, see, because I seen it in you when you was a kid, you just got in trouble a lot. So we need to channel that trouble into like some type of structure. So I'm glad they did that. After I got in, I was proud that I did join the United States Army. You know,
9/11 happened, so you got a piece of that. You were deported.
Yeah. I was
deployed.
Deployed. Sorry. Yeah, I was in Korea and during the 9/11. I was over there on a hardship.
Oh, you were already overseas.
Yeah, I was overseas. You know, I did my first assignment. I was in Virginia. This place called Fort Story. According to the recruiter, he was like, "Man, it's the best kept secret." Because again, you got to remember, they had to sell the Army to me in my living room because I didn't want to go. I wanted to go to the Art Institute. Mm-hmm. They said, "Man, who's gonna pay for this? This costs more than Georgia Tech." And then he said, "Man, I tell you what, man, Virginia Beach, all the girls, nobody in the Army can get this assignment, but I'm gonna specifically put in a word for you." So my first assignment was Fort Story, was on Virginia Beach, from 1999 to 2001.
And was it what he said?
Yeah, it was. I almost got married. True story.
What?
I would have had a kid and everything. I immediately jumped into women.
What?
Yeah.
Because that's what he sold you.
That's what he sold me.
So your mind was already built around that.
It was built.
And you were young, full of testosterone. Man. Hell yeah. Why not?
Yo, the culture was very different than Atlanta. Mm-hmm. You know, when I got to Virginia Beach, all the women, you know, and it just kind of worked. I came down on assignment orders and stuff in my time. A 2-year mark hit, I got assignment orders to Texas. Yeah. For a hood, but I turned it down because, like I said, I was in this relationship with this girl. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I don't want the Uncle Sam to break me up because they're trying to sign me to send me to Texas. So put in a request. I put in a request on my chain of command to stop it. But the problem is, like, my supervisor came to me and said, "Hey man, look, the Army, this is the way the Army works. They stop you from going to Texas, but they're not going to stop you from moving. So now you're in this, what they call the needs of the Army bubble." I'm like, damn, what does that mean? That means you should have went to Texas, because now I think the Army has said, well, okay, since he don't want to go to Texas, he's going to go somewhere. So we're going to send him to Korea because we need people to go to Korea. And everybody was telling me how Korea was it's nice. Worse. No, it's worse.
Oh, it's worse?
Yeah, so before 9/11, Korea was still considered like just under your time in combat. Before 9/11, Korea was, you had Germany as an overseas tour, you had Hawaii, and you have Korea. Korea was the closest one to like, it's gonna suck before 9/11. Because, you know, you gotta think about it, we was on a demilitarized zone up the, with the North Korea because of the Korean War. So, Korea is a hardship tour, you can't get out of it, so I had to go nevertheless. And I was there when the towers fell. So I was there from 01 to 02, you know, and I wanted more of it, so I re-enlisted to a unit called Fort Stewart, Georgia, outside of Savannah, which is a mechanized infantry division. And when I got there, I reported to Savannah in 2002, June. It's crazy, it's 20 years ago.
2002.
June, yeah. My time, so I did my 13 months in Korea, came back to the States in 2002. At the time, George Bush was saying that Fort Stewart out of Savannah, by us being a heavy mechanized infantry division, the biggest one on the eastern side of the Mississippi, that we was going to spearhead the invasion of Iraq. So we was the first ones in Iraq.
How long you were there?
George Bush, we was a part of the invasion, what they call it. Right. Kind of like, that was like 7 months. Because really it was a time to be determined type of, when the war kicked off, the war was the time to be determined. It's like whenever we accomplish what the Pentagon wanted us to accomplish, and that was to take Saddam's regime out. So that took, we got there in January, but we was, like I said, we was in the desert from January to March. Yeah. Because at the time, George Bush was still giving Saddam and his regime time to kind of comply with the sanctions.
I remember, yeah.
And March 18th,
it's kind of like, you know, going to court.
Yeah. We was like,
yeah, I was just waiting.
Man, we was fighting, we was training, we was doing all kind of like tank, what we call tank tables. Like these big.
So what was your rank at that time?
Man, I was only, let me see, I was an E4, which is a specialist.
Okay.
You know, so I was just on the cusp of a sergeant. I wasn't in a leadership position yet. Yeah. You know, so my job was to carry out orders, and I was a petroleum guy. So I don't know if you're familiar with petroleum. Yeah.
Fuel. Okay.
So tankers.
Yeah.
10-ton.
That loads up the
fuel.
So you're like the delivery guy.
I was that guy.
Okay.
But I was in a what they call a combat engineer unit. And combat engineers are the guys that breach minefields. So when we was in the Kuwaiti desert, we specialized in, like, you know, I was kind of cross-training that too. I was the ordnance liaison, so I had all the C4, all the blasting caps, all the like just combat arms, what they call it. And basically, like, you know, I was that guy that was in that unit full of like door kickers and trigger pullers, man, and that's what those guys did. So we had to kind of breach the minefields from the Kuwaiti Desert when George Bush gave us the green light. And we went through the desert, and the first, I think, 2 days was landmines that was still in the desert, this vast desert since Desert Storm. So Desert Storm was in 1991 when we went through in 03.
So you had to use those things. And,
mine probes.
Yeah.
And they got these things called MICLIC. So basically on the back of the tank, MICLIC is an acronym. Don't ask me what that, I forget what that means.
I ain't asking you nothing,
but
sir.
It's like this, it's this long snake that shoots out. We just call it snake because it has several bands of C4.
Oh, and
it shoots out like probably like, let's say 100 yards, and it lands and it detonates everything in its path.
Oh shit!
And
so it's like a trigger man. The trigger thing.
That's what it does, and it creates a path, and then we breach the desert, and then we were just taking out like Saddam, man, guys throughout the desert, and up until we got up into the inner city of Baghdad. So,
all right. Wow.
So yeah, that was fun, man.
Yeah, I mean, hey, you know, I never wanted to go to the army. I never had no desire. I hate guns. I don't want to kill nobody. You know, I want to breathe life into people. But I understand that things like that is necessary. You know, for whatever reason, it's not for me to even figure out or whatever. I'm not into politics. I don't like politics.
You know,
I just want to live and let live.
Yeah,
and I understand that there are people out there who want to kill us, and so I'm glad that you guys are there to, you know, to make sure to keep us safe. You know, so we can be free, whatever that means in this country.
And that was what I was gonna get into, man. It's funny, Fitz. Like, so I'm a guy. I was that kid, always growing up asking questions. Arguably, people said I asked too many questions when I was a kid. I was a kid in the kitchen. I was in the car, asking questions.
They say you ask too much questions.
Yeah.
Oh man, I hate when parents do that, man. And grown-ups do that to kids.
Yeah, man. I've always just wanted to know about stuff. So that's what.
No one has ever told me that shit. You ask too many questions. I did the same because that's how I know to fix a lot of stuff, and I was always curious about how things work.
Exactly, man. And I was picked up reading as a child. I taught myself a lot of stuff.
Because you were curious.
Yeah.
You wanted to know things, and that's the best way to know things.
It's the best way. And you know,
at that time we didn't have social, you know, the internet.
It wasn't the internet. It was just really like books, you know. And it, to this day, I still kind of keep. That's a part of me. Like, I got a library of books.
Love to read.
Yep.
It's good, man. Not a lot of people like doing that anymore.
It's a loss.
Forget about the younger generation.
Yeah.
They like to read crap.
Crap, man. And it's
IG stories.
And it's crazy because, you know, like we was talking off camera and stuff, man. Like a lot of other countries are like adopting like the freedom that the West or America has, but sometimes it comes with a lot of the baggage of like we can kind of have like too much toxicity in the exposure of information, like little kids.
Yeah, yes, sir.
But I would tell you, like, since the time I was in the Army, there's a lot of things that I learned, and I even questioned that.
Right, of course. But you have to question.
Or like
everything.
Like,
you gotta question everything, man.
Yeah, I question, and you know, I got some answers and stuff since the war. You know, like I said, it's a lot of lessons learned, like perseverance type of lessons and stuff about like yourself. Like I had to learn a lot of stuff, even just going through that campaign.
Right.
You know,
life will do that to you.
And I learned, you know, more. I had a deeper study of like America. Studied more American history that they really didn't talk about too much in school. Right. Just try to figure out.
Those are stuff they don't want you to know.
Yeah. Like what's the whole reason why military operations work? Like you say that. You know what I'm saying? Or the incentives and stuff of a lot of stuff. But my fitness really took off in Iraq on that first tour in Iraq.
Right. So I wanted to come before you get into that. How did you get the drill sergeant position? I wanted to touch on that.
Oh, how do I get?
Is that correct? You were a drill sergeant?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I put in for that. So it's two ways you can.
Were you already a sergeant?
Yeah, I was an E6.
Okay.
This was like years.
So you have to be a sergeant, then you can put in for becoming a drill sergeant.
Yeah. So the minimum, actually, to be honest with you, like I think they changed it, but it was a time that the minimum rank requirement was a corporal.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the corporal was it's like a subordinate of a sergeant, but still had kind of like a leadership duties.
Mm-hmm.
You have corporal, sergeant, then staff sergeant.
Mm-hmm.
Then sergeant first class and da 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 da. But
right.
I was already at E6 by the time I put in for drill sergeant. The thing that inspired me about being a drill sergeant was my drill sergeants when I joined the Army.
Oh, your drill sergeant, the one that inspired you to become a drill sergeant.
Yep, because by me, I think it has something to do with my personality or people who has a certain kind of personality.
Is it a verbal inspirement, or is it a visual thing? You like what the command and what he was doing?
No, I like the. It's a good question because I seen a lot of different distinctions in leadership style. Like I said, I was very observative, even from a subordinate position.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to look at my drill sergeants as sources of inspiration. Like the movies that depict them to be one way. Let's say, for lack of better terms, like an a-hole.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But you have to understand, like, what's the bottom line up front within a drill sergeant who's in that position. That's a special assignment.
Right.
And they
I think I know what that is, but if you tell it.
There's a certain characteristic of leadership traits and stuff that they had. I had 3 drill sergeants. Drill sergeant, and I was thinking about this on the way over here. Drill sergeant Fitz, drill sergeant Dawkins, and drill sergeant Patera. Drill sergeant Patera was the senior.
Wasn't me.
Yeah. Hey. And he was a quiet professional. He was a Green Beret, Special Forces guy. So I learned that the senior drill sergeant that was under the hat, he didn't do a lot of yelling like how they did on Full Metal Jackets and stuff. He was a quiet professional.
Mm-hmm.
His presence, crease uniform, spit shine boots, like I came up under that doctrine. So, like I said, I'm very observant. Yeah, I'm very big on presentation.
Yeah, so you feel like you're the man to watch out for. So it's like, okay, you don't say much, but watch out for that one right there.
Watch out for him because by him being what they call the long tab, the Special Forces tab, just that within itself is a credential that
is inspiring.
Yeah, he's like,
he's like authority figure.
Yeah, and we used to get motivational speakings from Drill Sergeant Fitch and Drill Sergeant Dawkins specifically when we went out on. They used to take us out. Like this boot camp phase is a 10-week phase, broken down in red phase, white phase, blue phase. Mm-hmm. Each phase is 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. You got to graduate red phase in order to have a rite of passage to go into white phase. Okay. And then there's another 3 weeks. It's a series of culminating events. Mm-hmm. That's how basic training is. Right. And then blue phase is the final stage. But throughout each phase, you get tested. After every test, our drill sergeants literally will have us bring it in, take a knee, and what you'll see with the Eric Thomases and the motivational speakers now, they got those guys like that in the 90s. Very inspirational.
Got it.
That was hard on us. Just on Fitch was probably 220 pounds solid muscle. So again,
wow,
me being, but he was a brother. He was Drill Sergeant Fitch and Drill Sergeant Dawkins was black guys, and he wasn't intimidated in the sense of I'm in charge. You sit down, like you're nothing, you're worthless. It was more like you guys got to understand this pain that you're feeling. Mm-hmm. We be low crawling on the barbed wire. It's cold water. They used to have us. They dig these ditches. Had the barbed wire you see on the front of the covers and stuff, and we crawling, and they force us to low crawl to get our head submerged under the water, and they're assessing how we will be, and they shooting machine guns over us. They're bringing in and they explain to us this right here is an augmented version of what you could potentially face as a United States Army soldier. In the real war. You got to understand this is temporary, And he had this thing called get on your bikes. Get on the bikes is basically you get down in a low squat, and you say, I want you to rev your right hand, vroom. But it's like using the imagination to ride a bike, but you're not sitting on nothing. Mm-hmm. But it was like time under tension.
On the quads.
Man.
Yeah.
So everything, these guys was master fitness. Mm-hmm. which is the Army's personal training program. They call it, you get certified as a master fitness trainer.
Right.
And so I used to look at Drill Sergeant Fitz. It's like, man, how this guy is able to do all this stuff in uniform and boots and stuff, that this guy's jacked.
Right.
So that's when that whole thing really said, yo, I think I can do this fitness stuff. And I was inspired by him. And Drill Sergeant Dawkins was also like ordained pastor. You get, there's a correlation between drill sergeants and people who ordain.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you can come at it as being a prick, like the movies
should portray,
or in the real world.
Well, I mean, I'm sure you have drill sergeants like
yeah, they're like that. You know, I think it's personality driven. You know, but the ones I was just blessed to kind of have the ones that was hard on us, but it's hard in good measure, and still real core values. And so fast forward to 2010, 2011, like when it was my time to put in for it. You know, you had a career. I was at we have a career map, and in order to like make yourself more marketable in promotion, you have to do what they call a special assignment. Yeah, you either go recruiter or go drill sergeant. I said, you know, I want to be a source of inspiration because it's built into my personality ever since, like, for the 10 years that I was in up to that point, I was always getting evaluated by my superiors. It's like I kind of had this knack for being able to, like, kind of inspire people. Like, yo, you know, you're kind of good at that. Right. You know, so I said, okay, when I become an E6, I'm going to put in for drill sergeant. Because a lot of people like, yo, you'll be a good drill sergeant, not because any asshole can yell at people. Right. You know, but it's a certain distinction on how you marry a lot of that into like the young impressionable men that's coming in, while not losing them but inspiring them. I think you'd be good at that. So I said I put in a request. This is an application, and it has to go through an approval channel. And once it gets approved, then you get sent to the academy
to learn.
Yeah,
to learn the drill sergeant school.
Yeah, and basically drill sergeant school is like kind of like a replicated, like you going back to boot camp again. So at this point, I'm like 12 years
now you have to learn how to teach that to someone.
Yep.
It's like even though you've been through that process, the lower end of it, now you have to you have to learn to teach someone, you know, to drill sergeant someone.
Yeah.
Yeah. You go to the gym and you see guys looking all buff. And everybody think that person, he can be a good trainer, right? Because he looks that way, but he has knowledge of how to even train someone. He can do it himself, but how to train someone, and not to mention the other aspect that comes with that, and diet-wise and all of those things, because his diet is for him, right? And you know he's gonna implement that same diet to everybody he's trained, because he's not trained to be that.
That's facts, man. Yeah. You know, so that's you know, I learned a lot. Again, like you always learning. So you have to get in this mindset to like, even though you've been in the Army 10, 11, 12 years at that point when I showed up at the academy. I pulled up in the academy is at Fort Jackson, South Carolina. You know, and when I pulled in the parking lot, that's when the rules hit again. Because you got to think about it. They play a lot of mind games in drill sergeant school because they're putting you back in your place. Like when you're a drill sergeant, a lot of people already. You have to be able to be in the mindset where you can be commanded. You can be commanded. They put that right back in there. Matter of fact, it was like the first day I went to the parking lot and I saw a guy with a hat walking across the parking lot, man. Drill sergeant, like, man, I ain't seen one of them since I was in boot camp. So it's funny how psychologically you still kind of like get butterflies. Yeah. Even though I'm I'm ranked up. I've been in a decade at this point. I'm in a leadership position, but when I report to that academy, you see them hats in the distance and stuff. What? You're like, it's still intimidating. And I saw him looking at me, and I was trying to find parking, and I'm like this green guy. I got like a pamphlet, and like he wrote on the window like, you a candidate?" I'm like, yeah. He's like, I'm gonna tell you what, you're gonna have a bad day if you park over here in this parking lot. What you need to do, you need to go down here and you need to park down in the candidate parking spot. Okay, all right. You know what I'm saying? Like very matter of fact. A bad day just by parking in that parking. Yeah. How would he mean by that? It wasn't me. It was like more matter of fact, because everything is about attention to detail. Right. Like so, they have offices and we have these hallways. When the doors open and they're sitting at the desk, you're unauthorized to walk in front of offices that has the door open when they're sitting at the desk. If you have to walk this way to your classroom and the door is open, you have to take the long way around the entire facility.
Are you kidding?
Man, yeah.
They set it up that way like that. So you can follow orders.
Yep, they got a line everywhere, and you have to walk on the right side of this line. You get caught walking the left side of this line, you might have a real big problem.
Because the left side is for drill sergeants already.
Yep.
You gotta walk, stay on your line, stay on your side, boy.
Yep. They're looking at your paperwork. They say the first 72 hours you don't unpack your bags.
72 hours?
Yeah, the first 3 days.
Because you might be kicked. You might be
kicked out. Yep. They go through all your paperwork. Everybody's lined up on the line. They're going through all your stuff. Background checks. They got to get your psyche valve. Got to clear. You got to get a psyche valve as well.
Of course.
Because back in the day, like it was made the news in the papers with drill sergeants and stuff. Like was like abusing the recruits. It was all on CNN, and so now. Like when I went through, they wanted to make sure that they mitigate and get rid of it.
When you say abuse, like what kind of abuse?
Putting hands on them.
Sexual?
No, putting hands on them. Like,
okay, gotcha. All right, just want to be clear.
Yeah. And, I guess, somewhere within the parameters, I know they closed down boot camps and stuff, certain places and stuff, like Fort Meade, Maryland.
It was just bad.
Yeah, because you got to think about it, before the cameras and before oversight. See, before 9/11, it was the dark ages. Once you went down in that world, man, like drill sergeants handling you, and they were supported by whatever internal chain of commands and stuff.
Right.
There was no real outside oversight.
Right.
Until people's parents started complaining to like congressmen and stuff about like there's no reason why my kid went into this all voluntary force. It's not Vietnam.
And came out to be messed up. Messed up.
And they didn't even make it through boot camp because they was hazing them too tough. Because when I had some drill sergeants like that, and they got rid of them, and that's when I got the 3 that I was describing early in the conversation. The other three drill sergeants we had, they hazed this kid because he couldn't do push-ups.
And they can do it and make it a laughing matter.
That's what they did.
And no one can tell them what to do. There's nobody watching, overseeing them, so they got away with it.
Yeah. So when I went through, the academy, and the academy is a very professional academy, man. They teach you about Generation X, Y, and Z. So we went through a lot of training on, like, you got to realize, like, the people that you're going to be facing is going to be more self-sufficient teenagers. It's not the same teenagers that came in the 90s. These teenagers now are more, they feel like they got it figured out. A lot of them grew up with smartphones, Google, Apple Play. Yeah. So they join the military. This culture, this system is still kind of relocated on the principles of being old school boot camp style in a ever so modern world. Whereas in the 90s, it was modern from a way that it was hip hop, source magazines and stuff like that. But we still kind of like we didn't have that much leverage on just being able to just Google something and challenge authority the way this generation is. So we learned distinctions between like the younger generation now as a drill sergeant before we graduated the academy and stuff, man. But a lot of it is on leadership. Yeah. Leadership is a very.
It is necessary. It's necessary. I mean, you're taking charge of someone, trying to mold them to bring them to a certain point, and leadership has to be strong. It has to be important because you can't be a leader and then allow the people you're supposed to be leading to run your shit. You have to take full control.
They had studies. The study was like they did. We have a course management team, and then we also have a Centers of Lessons Learned. They call it CALL. They have a whole different department on. They take every cycle. They take lessons learned, and the study was the more structured and strict that you are as a drill sergeant, the higher motivation and morale that your platoon is going to have. The moment you start, like, think about it. It's like when you got a child. Hey, you get home, you're going to go to your room, you're going to be home, and you don't stand by that. As the day creeps on, you just kind of like let them really watch TV. Yeah. There's something psychologically they're not going to respect. Right. So the morale is going to be low because they feel like there's no structure and they feel like they can kind of like cut corners. So it's all about teaching us or reestablishing us to not allow people who we got an obligation from day zero to to the week 10 to march them across in their uniform so the parents can see that you molded them. So the cutting corner piece and stuff, you have to like use your discretion, but at the same time you have to like really have sound judgment, sound leadership to be able to display that you are in charge as a drill sergeant, and we have a duty and an obligation, and you also have a duty and obligation as a recruit to meet us in the middle. You know, I can't be a man for you, man.
Right.
You know, like I could do everything except be a man for you.
Wow.
You know, so it was a very eye opener. You know, going through that school. You know, I learned a lot. You know, about people. There was human dynamics training and stuff too. You got people. You know, you have a guy from like, let's say, the Bronx. Then you have a cat from like Alabama. You know, you have a cat from East St. Louis, and has some people from like Kentucky, the West Coast, Detroit. You know, so I know there's like a lot of people who's from the inner cities and Chicago's and stuff like that. They responded a little bit more with presence. You know, they didn't respond well with in your face kind of stuff.
Got it.
Because they're already from Chicago.
Yeah.
Like, I'm used to this, man.
Right.
So in order to get that guy, kind of like get him to kind of pay attention a little bit, I have to come in there like with my presence and stuff to like, okay, before I have them to like do anything, I already have to like display that I'm doing what I'm gonna tell them to do first because they're watching.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
it's like lead by example.
Yeah.
Okay.
The moment you start doing that, people kind of question like, well, you ain't doing it, you know. And it's not really their place to question, because there's certain little incidents and stuff where you have to welcome them to the real world.
But if from a psychological standpoint, you got to. It makes sense.
Yeah, you have to. You know, you can't smoke around them. You can't chew dip. For the people that drill sergeants smoke, I don't smoke.
Right.
You know, but because they can't do it, they can't. You take their phones. They can't have phone time. So you shouldn't be on your phone, you know what I'm saying,
right,
and all that.
By example.
Like, you know, so you have to like really be polished, shaved, because they really looking. They and what happens and stuff. Inspiration is stronger than motivation. You know, if you come, they kind of
wait. So you're saying that inspiration is stronger than motivation?
Yeah, because motivation is an extension of discipline. You have discipline, then you have self-discipline. Like what I was taught is like in red phase. That whole entire 3 weeks was shock treatment. Everything is hard. When you first get off the bus, they're shouting at you. It's like it's more command
all
control.
Up in your face.
All up in your face. It's designed that way. You know.
To see where your triggers are.
See where your triggers are. Break you down. It's called pattern interrupt.
Pattern interrupt.
Yep. Okay. Pattern interrupt. Your mother and stuff like they enabled you. You so used to staying up late. Lights out is at 10 o'clock. Hey, joke's on you. At 4 o'clock, and you just somehow just still getting used to going to bed. Jokes on you, man. Pattern interrupt, man. You got to start training your brain. It's 3 weeks. So you have discipline, you have self-discipline. So the command and control is discipline. You doing it because I'm standing over. Okay, but what are you gonna do? Like, you have to do the right thing when no one's watching. That's self-discipline. You know what I'm saying? They instill that.
So train by example. Pattern interrupt. Because what that's doing is creating a whole new, break down the old way of doing things, create a new way of doing something, because now they have to be able to do the things that they're supposed to do even when no one is there to watch them.
Yes. Another big thing is patience as a drill sergeant. You have to have patience. You'd be surprised how many people who didn't have an older brother, father, uncle, nobody. Like, what we may think is like simple. Like, what do you mean you can't tie your shoe? What do you mean?
I just had that conversation in one of my last podcasts about patience. And how I, in my own personal life, grown in my process of being a personal trainer, how I had to, well, not a personal trainer, but also in my own, when I started working out, how I had to learn patience, because it's not something that I had, and working out taught me patience. So I'm glad you just come back to that. Makes it
kinda
more
like,
real.
Yeah, you gotta have patience, man, and you perform everything. I used to have these flashbacks of Drill Sergeant Fitch, corporal punishment, or so we didn't do anything. Like if we was dragging, he'll make us. When I say dragging, like we wasn't motivated certain mornings to get out of bed because they trained us hard the day before, so we're extra tired. So they have us doing push-ups or bunk dips to work your triceps. And I remember Drill Sergeant Fitch, man, had some big arms, and as painful as down, up, one, and he's walking around in the kill zone, like giving us lecture, because everything was about lecture. I appreciated lecture over the guy who just being an a-hole, because lecture is stuff I'm downloading the information if it's constructive.
And so that's the part of the inspiration.
Yep. Meanwhile, I connect that with presence. Drill Sergeant Fitch had the
presence
of like what if you was to look in the dictionary of a drill sergeant, he had
he looked like that.
His shirt tucked in, creased out, ripped pecs. You seen like he was like a bodybuilder. Like he's literally like and a lot of drill sergeants, they got weight rooms. Like we shining boots. We not supposed to be kind of like meddling in their business and stuff. They be in there bantering, you hear them bantering, they clang clang, sweating in your full uniform. They working out in between while they got us cleaning weapons, got us preoccupied. We got to be studying and that. Back when I joined, we had to carry what they call Smart Book.
Smart Books? What's that?
Smart Book is a book that they give you. It's a manual that they give you when you join. That manual has everything that you need to know, the basic stuff to be a soldier. The Army, the 7 Army Corps values, the warrior ethos, the fundamentals of marksmanship, drill and ceremony. You know, because they're actually that on demand.
Yeah.
They'll stop and ask you, because they teach you everything first before they test you on it. They ask you on demand, like, okay, what are the 4 basic marksmanship? What are the 4 basic fundamentals of marksmanship? Go. Get down. Took too long. Where's your Smart Book? What do you mean it's in your locker? You know what? They get everybody up. Everybody up. Everybody get on the line. The front leaning rest position, and they smoke everybody because you jacked up. They teaching. They use that good suffer with the bad type of technique. No, you good. You stand there.
Because you're one unit. You got to work in unison. Because if one, it's the bad link kind of thing. Yeah. Because
when the drill sergeants go away, they're designing to where your peers are gonna hold you accountable. Right. So it's less work I gotta do. Right. You know, it's designed that way. They're like, yo, man, you need to pick yourself up. Man, you keep getting us in trouble, man. Yeah. But
you got everybody mad at you. Man. Now you're carrying the weight of everybody mad at you because you messed up.
Smart Book.
Because now all of us gonna be in trouble because of your shit.
Yep. In our cargo pocket, that Smart Book better been on our person. And so we had what they call white space time. We better be reading and studying it at all times. Right. Studying.
Even if you think you know it.
Even if you think you know it, because you have to regurgitate it on demand. Yep.
Fast.
Yep. Like what are the stripes on the flag mean? How many stripes are there? How many stars? Okay. Where did the Star Spangled Banner? What year was that derived out of? What year did the Star Spangled Banner? You know, like this stuff like that. Yeah. But man, I'm telling you, man, it was a fun experience, man. A lot of people appreciate it after when they graduate. I'll tell you that.
Right.
Nothing personal.
So fast forward to training, personal training. I mean, you did the drill sergeant master school. You become a master trainer. You are certified master trainer in the field. Now you come to the real world. What's the difference between the real world in terms of client and training other clients versus being in the Army? I know it's a different type of training, but what?
Well, the people, because like contrary to popular belief, there's a lot of soldiers that complain and gripe too in the uniform.
Okay.
Oh man, like look, not everybody is bought into fitness, man. Even in the Army, some people is just signed up for.
They
college.
do it because they have to.
They got to do it. It goes back to that.
Is that why when they come out of the Army, they get big and fat, gain weight? They're like, fuck this discipline shit.
There was a study I seen, like I think in 2016, that said like I think it was like 70% of soldiers who discharged out of the Army. You know why? Was it because repeated tours to Afghanistan? No. Taken away from their family, long work nights. No, it's like it's because of PT. Most people really get tired of that. Got to be up 5-6 o'clock in the morning to go out in the grass and do PT. I'm like, really? So majority of people like, hey, when my time's up, I'm not signing up. And it'd be over PT. You'd be surprised how many soldiers
Because you know what I don't see? Now that you said that, I don't see a high percentage of ex-military guys in the gym.
Yeah.
It's like it's
rare. It's rare.
It's very rare that they continue that that discipline of working out.
Yep. And you know a lot of
unless it's like maybe a guy who's probably spent like only 4 years in the army.
Yeah, he's still kind of young.
Still like young, he can go through it. Yeah, he'll come and then he'll, join the gym to keep, But yeah, I did have a few clients who were into working out before they went to the army.
Oh yeah.
But as I'm thinking about it now, I think they were working out because they wanted to pass boot camp. They wanted to be in good condition. It wasn't because they wanted to work out. It was a part of their life. It wasn't a lifestyle for them. One of them actually got out of the army, he was in Marines. And he's gained all the weight in the world.
Whoa.
Didn't work out. He started with me, lose the weight, got in, do the boot camp, lost a lot of weight in boot camp, looked really good.
Mm-hmm.
Left, fat dude, gaining all the weight.
Wow, man. Yeah.
It's amazing how they just go from they think that is so difficult for them that they don't want to ever do that shit again, even if they know it's good for them.
That's true.
Health-wise.
And I would say that was the Army's biggest problem.
They push them too hard.
Yeah, because you got to think about it. We had so it's 12 months in a year, and at that point, I've gotten to a point where I was in more of a let's say I was operations. I was a platoon sergeant up until like when I got out. So I was more in operations, platoon sergeant. So I kind of managed the company, and the biggest hurdle was getting people to pass the PT, because and there's a companion with studying for the test. When there's a PT test, the company, so the commander, the CO, is required to test his men at the fiscal year, start of the fiscal year, in like October. Every time in between that's supposed to be PT. Oh, well, I got a bum knee from deployment. We went and trained rope climbing. We're doing a high speed training. So the Army really had to start looking at like this generation. They look at these trend reports. Bone density is one of them. I guess a lot of these studies came out that a lot of younger kids now, bone density is not the same as kids in the 90s because athleticism of playing recess in the 80s and 90s. When we joined the military, your bone density, even now, like running increases bone density.
Well, that can come from a multitude as well. It can come from the fact that they don't really do exercise in school anymore.
They don't. And they join the Army, and then they come and get beat up.
Quality of food, this McDonald's stuff and Burger King and all that stuff that kids are growing up on. Yeah. Especially kids who are living in dire straits neighborhood who end up going in the Army because there's nothing else for them to do. Yeah. Their nutrition is so bad. So, it could be all that. But it's an interesting study.
They was looking at, like, for example, like they're trying to explain why people in their 20s get medically retired from the Army from like having like surgery on their hip and stuff, man. And they're like young.
And that's where the test came.
The studies come they're looking at nutrition, and they're looking at the school system.
It always comes back to nutrition, man. It is a big percentage of your health.
Yeah. And during the Obama administration, Michelle Obama spearheaded that campaign to where she went and changed all the I think we had kind of talked about that.
But the what?
Because like during the surge, when we was fighting.
So that's when she had the kids planting vegetables and all that stuff. So what did she do with that in the Army though?
She had purview over. She spearheaded the systems of food being regulated for more of a nutritional standpoint in middle schools, high schools.
So how bad was the Army food before that?
Army schools sucked before that, man. Nothing against like.
It's like prison food. It's a step above prison food.
It was good, but it wasn't. it wasn't nutrition. Let's just say that.
So, but that is like, I feel like that's an oxymoron, right? So you want guys to be healthy, and you're doing all this training. Don't you think that part of that is the food? I guess they're trying to train them like okay, if you end up in war, you're not gonna have healthy food, but wait till that happens. I think.
Now let me get
because
this.
if you're healthy to begin with, and you go into war and you're in a unhealthy environment, at least you have a healthy body to begin with to sustain.
Yeah. Let me.
It's the preparation.
Let me provide context. Since the global war on terror, the food has gotten better.
Okay.
But the 9/11 era had to happen because I joined before 9/11. When I joined, they were still flipping hamburgers and corn dogs and stuff. So we had a main line.
Corn dogs.
Yep, we had a main line.
Get over corn dogs.
And a short line. True story. Like main line, you get like, let's say they have like on the menu today we have baked fish. Now don't get me wrong, they was always big on macronutrients. You get starches, carbohydrates, and a protein.
But starch and carbohydrates is the same thing.
Well, it's starch and carb, but you get a quote unquote good version, and then you get a quote unquote. If you go in the short line, you get this onion rings. There's
so the bad version tastes better.
That's what it is.
The good version doesn't taste as good, but that's the quality one.
Yeah, but the Army doesn't have that problem now because that was like over 23 years ago.
Right, because Michelle changed that.
She changed it. So
good for her, and the soldiers were.
Yeah, because they kept seeing Afghanistan and Iraq. You got to think about we did the surge. We were just sending soldiers, so we needed more. The recruiting campaign was struggling because America recruiters was out here in these inner cities. They like, yo, we can't even get half these kids that's in high school to really pass just like the basic stuff. So we can't recruit to fight the wars because they're
not fightable men. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like they're obese already.
Yeah.
So enlarged hearts.
It's like they're obese already. Yeah.
The Army really
and not only from a stored fat standpoint, but the quality of the bones and muscles and all that stuff.
A lot of inactive.
They're not fightable men.
No.
Interesting.
So when they come to a guy like me, because like I said, I was cut from that cloth.
Yeah.
So they come to me. I was hard, but they shook my hand and thanked me. As I had to be groomed and polished through my years of a leader by my superiors. Because when I first put the rank of sergeant on, I was a bulldog.
You were a bulldog.
I was a bull. I ain't gonna lie. I was a bulldog. I have a meeting with my supervisor. He like, so Tori Walton, like, and I remember one time I said, well, I asked him to clean up. He cut me off mid sentence. He did what? You asked him? Like, you know what? You're a sergeant. You don't ask them to do nothing. You tell them to do this. Like,
almost got in trouble.
I got punished.
What?
Yeah, as a sergeant. Like, the way it was strict. I worked for a guy that he joined in the early 80s, man. So my boss was old school. So as a sergeant, I would still get reprimanded. As a sergeant, by my boss.
What the fuck?
He was grooming me. I was a bulldog.
Hey, but you have to learn the right way. He's right, though.
Yeah, his cloth was from 82, 83, 84, like when he joined. Mm-hmm. By this point, it was 2005 when I was a sergeant, when I first made my stripes. By that point, he's like, look, I come from an era, man. Like, the sergeant, when a sergeant came on the scene and said something, nobody questioned it. These young guys right here, what do you mean they questioning you? He used to get mad at me for I'm telling you, like, what do you mean they tell you a sergeant?
Yeah, you're not getting at the guy who you come in and complain about.
Yeah, he old
like, mad at you, like, what?
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's like I come up under that doctrine.
Yeah.
The guys so I appreciated them guys that was the late 70s and early 80s. When I came in the Army, these guys like, you 18?
So you got a good start in the Army.
Mm-hmm.
You got some discipline going on. That's working for you. Now you come out of the Army. You transition into civilian lifestyle as a personal trainer.
Right.
Do you train your clients that way, or what are the bits and pieces you use and let go of?
So the bits and pieces that I had to like really look at when I sat down and kind of like looked at my like fitness training program on the commercial side is I had to understand that these people haven't been through a breakdown and rebuilding process. So I can't expect them to just immediately already kind of like start.
But they do have to go through a little bit of that.
They have to go through a little bit of it.
Yeah.
So I have to, and that's what the leadership and discretion, just years of experience. I tap into like just that I'm using a certain type of discretion. Maybe I got a woman who's been sedentary for a while, so I already know to start her at a 4-week conditioning program. Mm-hmm. Like 4-week conditioning where we're just doing low density, low impact workout. Mm-hmm. Whereas I get someone who's already kind of fit, they're more in the intermediate, but they're trying to take to the next level. Then I already know, okay, I can kind of skip the 4-week conditioning. We can kind of we can compress that conditioning down and stuff and get some dynamic warm-ups in, and we can kind of get you looking for me to push you to the next level because of my military background.
Of course.
So I had to really do away with the hardcore stuff when I got out and started doing personal training. But the thing that stayed the same that I mirrored and just took it and brought it over to the commercials is like the inspirational stuff. The same lectures that I used to have to sit there and talk to like my platoon to get them to kind of understand that they do have what it takes is the exact same energy that I have to do on the commercial side.
Yeah.
Because people are people. I tap into that muscle majority of the time, just like I did when I was in the Army. The fitness stuff is like probably 35% of it, and then the other 65% is like the pouring into, because I care just so much about like the betterment of people.
Well, like you said earlier, between inspiration and motivation. So in your case, is it more inspiring people or motivating people?
On the commercial side, it's more inspirational. So what I started doing is
both? Is it both?
I can motivate them, but I'm not always around them like I was in the Army.
Okay.
In the Army, I got more time with people than in the commercial. Right. Commercial side, we meet, let's say, three.
In other words, they don't really go home in terms of that, because in commercial, you're with that person for 30 minutes or 60 minutes. They have the rest of their life that they're going about their business. Got nothing to do with you. Yeah. So the inspiration the inspiration has to be stronger, because the motivation is more in the interim.
It's in the present.
In the present, and inspiration is even after you're not with them.
Right.
Interesting.
So, good. In the military, man, like, whether they like it or not, man, they had to form up and stand in front of a guy like me. And I used to always tell them, like, I've been in your shoes before. I used to stand there, glossy eyes coming from the club, still smelling like vodka.
Yeah, and, right.
Because I want to get in there and chase the girls, but I know we got a 5 a.m. 6-mile run. Hey, I've been in your shoes, but but at the same time we have obligation, and right now you are in class and learning discipline, and I can't be a man for you. And not only within that discipline, you're learning choices.
Did you ever do any kind of motivational speaking or thought about it, or?
I went through. So the Army had started addressing these. I had to start looking into suicides because of the depression and PTSD. So I never thought I'd be doing it, but they had created this program called the Master Resiliency Trainer, MRT. So they called me in the office and said, "Yo, we got this program from the University of Pennsylvania. The Army has partnered with them to take a lot of the positive psychology and resiliency principles, and we want to adopt it into the uniform of the Army, because the Army is really battling. They're trying to change the culture of, there used to be a time where drink water, suck it up, stop the plane, and get out of my face, and people go home and commit suicide. So they came to this program, and they sent me to the school to get certified as what they call a Master Resiliency Instructor. So that's where the inspirational public speaking. So I taught for a number of years.
So that's a big help for you in the commercial sector.
Yeah. So
it's great when you can inspire people to do things that they haven't thought about doing or even wanted to do in one. So that gives you a really strong stance in position with your clients.
Yeah.
So yeah. Now, what did you continue your? Wait, let me go back a bit. Did you work out? You were into fitness before you went into the Army, or you got it there?
When I was a kid, my dad was bodybuilding, like fit.
Okay.
So
you had it, bro.
That's kind of goes full circle on what we was talking about before about you seeing like some of the other veterans that get out and then they just kind of, and then
Right.
you don't see that many people that stick with it. And the reason being is because it was a foundation and just woven into me as for my personality as a kid watching my pops. My dad had weights around the house. So I was in the Frank Zane magazines. I was in the Arnold Schwarzenegger. I come up through the 80s.
Yeah.
Conan,
I remember
Commando in 88, you know what I'm saying? Like Frank Zane was a big one, Lee Haney. So when I joined the Army, I felt like this was the training that I needed to kind of get me to kind of do. I wanted to be like Frank Zane and Lee Haney and Arnold Schwarzenegger. So I already had this. I wasn't bodybuilding before the Army because I was a slender kid. It wasn't until like the Army where I kind of had got the drill sergeant Fitch with that presence and stuff that kind of like, he was hard on me, but in a good way. I kind of got swole when I was about to graduate. He was fixing my tie on my uniform. And like, man, look at you, man. Like, you know, and I was like, man, like, I was like, man, I never thought I'd look like this, man. So he was, drill sergeants are like personal trainers.
Yeah, they embody the physical look.
Yeah.
They definitely have the discipline, because it does take discipline to keep doing this day in, day out, creating new ways to do it. You have to be your own inspiration.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and then you could be inspired by someone else too at the same time, but you have to at some point apply it to yourself constantly, right? But here's the other part, that for me it wasn't about that, right? Because it's something that I actually grew to love. So it was a love for me to come to the gym, get up, go work out. It wasn't like, oh, do I gotta go do this again?
Yep.
So that's where my consistency came from.
Yeah.
I was already doing something I love. I love working out. Because I love not only doing the workout itself, like really, man, I got muscles that are moving, that I can do this. And then the other part is that I love the feeling that comes with that. The little aches and pains that most people are afraid of. I want to feel the soreness. And when the soreness doesn't happen, like, I'm like, damn, I didn't work out hard enough.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So yeah, it's kind of sadistic, right? When you look at it, but it's not pain that are like when your bones hurt or your body just hurt for no reason at all. It's not that kind of a pain. You know what I mean? But some people think it is, like pain is pain, but no, it's a different thing.
Yeah.
Like when you work your legs, man, you feel that soreness and you get it.
Feels good, yeah.
You just feel good. Yeah, it hurts, but I know I worked my leg good. I know that I had some gains in my leg.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
You know what I mean? My muscle cells are gonna be better for it. I can't wait for the next day to hit it again. You start going through all this things like, okay, I'm gonna do this leg workout this time, do more sets, more reps, more weight, and it's exciting. It's exciting. Some people would see that as, hell no, this is not exciting for me.
Yeah.
What would you say to that person, or what kind of inspiration would you have for that person who hate working out but they need to or should?
Yeah, it's funny because I talk to a lot of people that has that perspective, and I always tell them this. I said, like, for every person who's good at something, they sucked at it first, and I said, like, give me 3 things you're good at, and then when they give me the 3 things they're good at, I said, was it painful? Was that barrier before you got good at it, or you just was born this way? Well, there was a barrier I had to. Okay, it's painful. Like, you have a degree? Yeah. Okay, which one? Associates, bachelor's, and masters. I have a master's degree. Okay, was it painful? Yeah. Okay. So we live in a society where there's certain principles that's consistent. The same pain that it took for you to study on a time test with minimal notes and then make the grade in order to get that master's degree for your brain, the nervous system requires the same thing for muscle development. You know, so in order for the muscle to grow, you actually come to the gym and scar muscle tissue to break it down. The soreness is only the survival element that's kicking in. As humans, we're designed to become we're designed to get better after we face adversity. So when you're sore, It's your muscles' definition of it face some form of adversity in the gym with the trainer, and then
cells that are broken down are regenerating themselves twice.
Yep.
Now I only have one cell. The one cell that broke down and regenerated into two.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
That's
to be ready for something like that again.
You have to have some form of pain. And I would say, like, you know, even in the midst of like working out in the session, like, and they kind of I'm like, are you injured or are you in pain? If you're in pain but not injured, okay, then welcome. You know, welcome to class, because this is the experience, this is the exposure that you didn't get on your own, or therefore I wouldn't, as an accountability coach, be here.
Right.
My job is to present you this feeling that you did feel in yourself, because most people want to be comfortable. They go to the gym with no trainer, and they stay just under the cusp of where it started to get uncomfortable. Then
they give up
and go home.
Yeah.
And now it's not working.
It's like, yes, they said it's not working. It didn't work for them. Yeah.
It's like,
I like something you said earlier when you said the example you used, like when you in school and working for that degree, the pain that potentially comes with that because you want that so badly.
Yeah.
You end up doing it anyway because at the end result you want that degree so you continue. Some people give up though.
Yeah, that's true.
And I guess all of us are not going to achieve what we set out to do because some of us are not strong enough to continue and handle the pain. Those that do are the ones who make it. And I like that analogy that you use, like, yo, I hate school, but I went to school anyway. The difference is though, they go to school, get the degree, they suffer through it, and that's done.
Yeah.
With exercise, some people do the same thing.
Yeah.
They achieve a goal at exercise that they want from the exercise and they stop. And then they repeat that many times because now they want that something else that they have to use exercise to get there.
Yeah.
So it's like a stop, start. And it never clicked in their mind and said, shit, what if I just continue? I won't have to worry about the stop, start.
Exactly. Yeah.
I can just be there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that, so many people do that. Like, you know, people who work out because they want to be in shape to get a husband.
Yeah.
Or go on vacation to fitness or bathing. Or some kind of occasion that they plan on going to, that, you know, school reunion, that they have to look a certain way to please the ego. And so they go through this thing that they hate to get to that. And the reason why you and I notice that they hate it is because it's the starting of the process that makes it painful. Because once you're in it, you're good.
Yeah.
But they give up on that just to start all over again.
Yeah. And it's this term called autogenic conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
Learned from another military guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this guy was like in the Delta Force, man.
Yeah.
Autogenic. Well, I heard of that term, autogenic conditioning. The way he was describing it like training. Like shooting pistol. They were shooting it so much that it was like downloading to the nervous system. But he was kind of mentioning like, okay, if you can't go and practice jump shots, shooting, or sit-ups, do me a favor, imagine it when you wake up tomorrow morning. Imagine it the whole entire day. And then the day after, go perform it and see how good you are. Autogenic conditioning is like, you got 5 senses, but there's a certain sense that it really can't tell that you didn't kind of go through the activity just by imagination. Because you imagine it so long for so much. You know, the way that I guess the mind don't understand. So I always tell people, man, just imagine yourself coming to the gym before you come to the gym. So that way,
so the imagination can give you a good experience.
It gives you a good experience, and you go back to the master.
Because you think of, okay, what's the best?
Yeah.
I'm not going to come to the gym and work out and experience the things that I hate about working at the gym. You want to find a good thing. Interesting.
You want to find something good out of it. So you have to look at it from a point of like something that you're expecting. Like in the Army, like for me, I was the guy that like I expected it to be. Some people come out, man, this stuff is rough, man. I thought I'm gonna do my 3 years and get out. I didn't know it was gonna be like, what you thought it was gonna be daycare, man? I imagined it, I expected it, because when it got to a point where my father was like, you're gonna go. You don't have money for college. Where you gonna go after school? So I just had to go to my room and just imagine, like, you know what? I might as well just go ahead and accept this is my fate. So between the time that I signed the contract when I was a senior in high school up until when I graduated, and then they shipped me out, got me on the bus, I've already accepted it to the point where I imagined, because like I said, during that time there was no Google and YouTube.
Right.
I had to imagine how boot camp was. So when I got there, it wasn't that far off how I imagined it. So it didn't really shock me enough to where I hated it.
Yeah,
Actually, I loved it because I was like looking in the mirror and started to see my arms. I started seeing the six pack coming in.
I often do that myself without knowing there's even a name for it. Like, I see my body the way I want to see it, and I see myself enjoying doing certain exercises and getting a certain feeling from it. Mm-hmm. I imagine myself doing a certain amount of reps. I imagine myself doing a certain amount of sets. I imagine myself doing a certain amount of weights. And just like when I built this gym, the imagination was already there, and it's exactly because as I'm putting things in place, it's from my imagination.
Yeah.
And the only difference is that now you can see the color of it. But yeah,
I remember you were telling me that, man, like that, the imagination is a big thing. And I think a lot of people forget.
I do that with pretty much everything anyway.
Yeah.
Sorry. I do that with pretty much with everything. I always imagine it first. I mean, yeah. Imagination is a beautiful thing, man. It's infinite how much stuff you can imagine.
Yeah. The resilient part, it reestablishes a sense of mental toughness. Mm-hmm. Like I used to always say, like, even resilient people have non-resilient days. Teaching on problem solving, character strengths. I forget, it's a several program modules, what they call I used to have to teach, and there's a lot of examples and stuff on those classes. And like I said, these classes would be 3-4 hour. I was required to teach 3-4 hour lectures in class.
Wait. 3-4 hours of lectures?
Yes.
Isn't that kind of long, man?
The Army, man, and the curriculum.
Yeah.
The way the curriculum is set up, when you're teaching those resiliency models and stuff, there's a certain amount of classroom hours that has to be taught, so the commander can brief his boss, which is the colonel. Colonel can brief the full burg, and then goes up to the headquarters department of the Army that we're making a change in terms of mindset wise throughout the Army. Because like we've gotten good at training with tactics since 9/11.
Right.
But the Army still had that old school culture of like not being empathetic about how the brain works. So we have to have a certain amount of hours of mindset or resiliency training. So in Walton, like today, so I look at my curriculum and I'm like, okay, we're teaching character strengths. There's 25 different degrees of character. Mm-hmm. And there's a link. I used to email it out to the class like 48 hours prior. Like, you must do this because this is a part of the class. Mm-hmm. Everybody come into class and stuff, and we're going to discuss your results of your top 5 strengths of character. Everybody has strengths of character, like integrity, prudence, and a lot of people have low degrees of character. And it goes with self-esteem. The reason why that class is important because majority of workplace problems and relationship problems is like kind of what we was talking about, Cameron, like inferiority complexes and self-esteem. Yeah. You might work alongside a guy, you might work at a gym, or you might partner with someone, and somewhere along the way you start to see some type of differences and stuff of opinion, or you might see indicators that person may be jealous. That's a character issue. Yeah. So that class it exposes you what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are as a person. Because think about it, it's about cohesion. So we look at like in this team, in my company, in my platoon, everybody has different skill sets and talent. You may be good with running, you may be good at teaching classes, but you're not good at weapons. You're good at weapons, and what he's good at, you're not. So you guys need to work together. But in the real world, what happens? People kind of start having like ego clashes. Right. Character strengths and stuff. Teach people to kind of be able to adjust that. Yeah. What are your weaknesses and what are your strengths, and how can you take that and coexist with society? Right. I'm not good at everything, but I don't let it bother me when I get around people who are superior to me because their character.
Superior in terms of what they know.
Yeah. Okay. That's where a lot of that's like the number one problem. Human dynamics, people's ability to get along with people. People can't even live together and roommates and stuff.
Yeah.
Because those are character problems.
Yeah.
You know, so the Army had that stuff came from the University of Pennsylvania. So in those classes, I can't cut corners. I have to actually teach it where the curriculum is designed for me to teach it.
Gotcha.
So now we're in the social media world. Everything got to be 15 seconds, or else people's attention span is lost.
Can't go. Yeah.
The Army don't buy into that shit.
Oh.
Excuse my French, Army.
No. You know, French is good.
Yeah.
You can say French here.
It's like I had to, and don't get me wrong, I had to be entertaining. So there was a lot of self-discovery as a teacher in class. I used to give a lot of examples.
Because people get bored and they fall asleep.
They get bored.
Yeah.
So I had to be animated. I used to I'm gonna tell you guys a little bit something about Tori Walton. So you guys.
So is that where the art comes in?
Yeah.
So that comes into play too. Fits into that really well.
Yeah.
Your storytelling.
The storytelling, because I used to have to go back and tell stories on certain things. Like for me, like I struggle with substance abuse. Not a lot of people know that. They think you got it all put together.
I didn't know that, man.
I struggle with substance abuse, man. That's why I don't drink. And there's a reason. And trust me, there was a retrograde of years that had to happen before I got to where I'm a non-drinker. People think you just don't drink. You can have one or two. I spent a decade having just one or two.
Right.
That didn't work. So when I tell people like I don't drink not one, like I spent a decade studying it.
Yeah, you can have the one or two doesn't work for me.
No, it don't work.
So what works for me is none.
None.
Yeah.
And I can go out to any place and I'd be fine. I'm not awkward.
Right.
Because I'm already like I can kind of fit in, man. I was worse off, man, when I was drinking. I done destroyed a lot of relationships.
But a lot of people need to drink in order to have fun.
Yeah.
So it's the same mechanism for me. We were kind of off the path a little bit, but the same mechanism for me. And I think why I was more on the skinny side of my life, which is what propelled me to want to go work out.
Right.
Because I wanted to put on weight. And so I ate, and that didn't work. And so someone mentioned, you should probably go lift weights. And it turns out that eating and lifting weights go really great
really good together,
in terms of building muscle. I didn't even, staying lean, because I was lean, but building muscle.
Yeah.
I was eating way more than I could ever eat when I was doing it without lifting weights. But yeah, it's so incredible to me how the little things that you do in your life, there are times where it comes back and play a pivotal role into something great.
Yeah.
Like going back to you just about your artistic skills played such a great part in the motivational speaking to prevent these guys from getting bored. So you have to entertain them.
Yeah, I used to,
So if you get into acting, you can fall right into that really easy.
So a funny story, man. Like when I got out of the military, I got out April 30th, 2018. So about 4 years ago, and a good friend of mine was an actor here in Atlanta. Atlanta's this big hub for entertainment.
Yep.
And he was 350 pounds, and he said, "Yo, man, Atlanta's the new Hollywood, but the problem with acting, man, I don't care how good with your monologues and your script. It's all aesthetics, man. I don't look the part. Could you help me? I got you." We knew each other since 1980.
He was an actor.
Yeah, I'm coming from the Army.
Yeah.
So
he's
tapping into like his buddy is coming from the Army and like, "Yo, can you help me? What kind of boot camp stuff y'all used to do?" I'm like, "Man, I got you. Say less, man." We knew each other since like 87, 88. He went his way, I went to the military, and then now full circle. I got you. I got him from 350 to like 195.
Amazing.
It took from 2018, 2019, but we didn't do a lot of running because he was too heavy. People thought he lost all that weight. You must have had him doing like a lot. Like we didn't go to the track like probably once or twice, and that was after he lost at least 65 pounds.
Right, when you start to get a little bit lighter, and he can, because running that heavy is tough. Tough on the joints.
Yep.
Woo.
Nutrition plan and anaerobic exercises and stuff through
weights.
Through weights, and
burn them up.
Burn, man.
That
so
fire in that muscle, man.
I'll tell you. So he started to introduce me to like the acting buddies. And then they was kind of took a liking to me, like, yo man, like you kind of like fit like kind of like a character or something like that. You ever thought about acting? Meanwhile, I'm coming from the military. I'm trying to start my LLC fitness, but I'm optimistic. I'm looking like, let me tap into that for network. Because when I was a kid, you know, everybody was like, yo, you're a comedian. I was an artist. I was joining in classes, comedy, but I didn't take that serious because I wanted to be an artist. So full circle, after all this army stuff, and I'm back home, it's kind of like the universe and stuff still kind of like introduced me back to like kind of like the art stuff.
It will, because if that's your...
Well, I wasn't even trying to I was trying to get away. I was going to be a weapons instructor. I tried like either personal training or weapons, like protection stuff. I was going to, but my,
but the thing
passion is like art.
You think you've gone away from it, but you haven't.
Yeah.
Because acting is more than just going and acting. The stuff that you've learned, whether it be weapons and all that stuff, can play a pivotal role in your acting. Because who knows, you might get an acting role to do with weapon, or being someone, an army role.
Right.
It could be that you get a role in a movie that is our show that you have to speak.
Yeah.
And the fact that you were able to speak in front of people, that means you could be comfortable behind the camera, which you already are. So all those things were playing something in your, possibly get into movies. Who knows? I think it's something you should, if it's something you want to do, you can still do your personal training, do whatever. But it should be something that you might just want to like think about.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah, I definitely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, from a previous conversation we had, sometimes I have to go back and revisit this crossroad of like what I'm good at and what I'm passionate at, and marry him. And I know.
I think you're still on the path of it.
Okay. Yeah.
You're not off the path. You're in Atlanta. You're on the path.
Yeah.
All the things you're doing, 30, whatever, all that, everything in life plays into the role of acting.
Yeah. I should try to, kind of like tap back into that, man, because, it's funny, like, I didn't even try to, like, I was just trying to, get clients, and I ended up getting some gigs on some studios. I met, like, Tyler Perry and stuff, man.
Yeah, even the fact that you said you love to read, play a really good role, because you're going to have to learn, you have to read scripts.
And that's another
understand
thing.
What you're doing. So, everything you've done so far has a lot to do with acting roles.
Yeah, that's something I be, thinking about. When I was a kid, and a lot of secret, vulnerable stuff I used to say in those classes, because people kind of look at me like I kind of got it put together. At least when I was in the Army, because I was in that position of authority. So it's like your presence. But I say, I'm gonna tell you something. Like I used to have to. I needed mentors, man. Even me, even you, even
everybody
me.
needs.
I need mentors. Like I don't.
Of course.
I didn't. Like
psychiatrists have psychiatrists they talk to. Life coaches got life coaches who they talk to. Yeah. The president got somebody who has to advise him.
Yep. So
everybody gotta have somebody who they can talk to or advise them or whatever the case may be. Mine is my wife.
Yeah. You gotta.
And I'm hers.
Man. Yeah. See, you guys got that perfect.
And luckily we found it in each other. But if it wasn't her, and if it wasn't her for me or me for her, we would have to find it through somebody else.
Right.
But it's there. She has other people she talks to as well. Because sometimes a female want to talk to another female.
Yeah.
And again, even though I can talk to her. Sometimes I want to talk to a male. But yeah, we all have to have that. It helps. It helps. So yeah. But you have all for you, man. You have all the right makeup for acting, personal trainer. You're a walking school, library, and to me, I feel like you always looking to learn. Even when we have our own little talks and stuff, you're curious about learning the things you don't know. Because you never come off as a guy to me like you know everything, you know it all. You never presented that to me.
Oh man.
You're willing to listen and learn and, you know, kind of dig into other perspectives, always outside the box. But at the same time, I find that you know a whole lot of shit too.
Yeah, I'm just trying to.
But life is a thing that you never know everything.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Because it changes so much, and so you can't be comfortable. Even when you think you know something, you can't be too comfortable. You have to learn to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Not in the sense that it makes your body feel uncomfortable, but uncomfortable that you want to always strive for something more and more.
Yeah. Right. Because I think you and I talked about it. Like it took me some getting used to. You know, going back to like when I was in the Army, I was so used to we had these 5-year averaging cycles.
Mm-hmm.
So the way the Army works and stuff, you have tier years, tier 1, tier year, tier 3, up until 5. So I'm so used to putting these 5-year calendars out, and within these calendars we have every requirement that needs to happen every fiscal year for 5 years. Everything is budgeted. Everything is relocated. When I come out here, I don't know what's around the corner in terms of like the economy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can't really plan for that, so I have to have a. That's where the I guess being uncomfortable part come in at.
Right.
You know.
Right. Yeah.
Like
absolutely.
You know, knowing that okay, I need to protect myself, but not get too comfortable or too. So that way I can kind of keep that edge. I want to keep going.
Yeah, because when you're comfortable, it feels final. You feel like okay, I'm good. I'm done.
Yeah.
There's no growth. You stop growing, and if you stop growing, guess what? You're gonna die. Because what's the purpose of being here?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was having a conversation yesterday with a nurse, and she talked about being around people who are in the dying stage, and when they decide to like, you know, all right, I want to go now. How they just felt so at peace because. It's about they let go. They were ready to move on. They were ready to pass over. And people think that this is like painful or, you know, they're finally when they're crying their eyes out, blah, 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 blah. But people who die are at peace.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's a death that is, that looks, you know, like for instance, someone might get run over by a bus or get gunshot, die by gunshot. The pain is in the fact that they're still living. But once they hit that line to pass over, peace happens. So death is not painful. It's the living that is. But you have to also come to peace. You have to come to be at peace with the living as well.
Yeah.
In order to be at peace.
Yeah, that's deep. Yeah, that takes me back to like fits like some of the war years.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't know what's around the corner. Like you can never really get good at it.
Oh no,
So,
I don't think so. Yeah.
You know, people kind of stress themselves out where you just should just relax.
Mm-hmm.
Because what's gonna happen is gonna happen regardless. You know, and I remember like having to switch that mindset. It kind of was stuck in the own position when I came back back to the United States.
Yeah.
You know, but over there, I had compartmentalized it so much that I was kind of devoid.
I mean, you guys got to go through a whole lot of psychological crap, man, to function.
Yeah. You know, it's like...
And then you come back to the real world and it's...
Yeah, the brain, that's the...
You feel like an alien in your own...
Yeah.
Own home.
Yeah, I had to kind of get used to... I had to kind of get used to functioning a little bit.
Yeah.
Mentally because you're so ramped up over there.
Because that's your element.
That's the element.
That's your
alive.
The new you.
Yeah.
And then you come here, none of that is happening.
Yeah.
So it's like, shit, how do I fit in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of this stuff, man, like I had to, you know.
But you fit in, and you're fitting in.
Yeah.
Because you stay curious.
Yeah. That's the key.
And that's what I was talking about. You know, it has helped you out in so many ways.
Yeah, I was thinking when you were saying that, I was like, man, because I always, and I do a lot of this stuff for that person that's just in the room. I just say, in the room, and they just feel like out there is dangerous. I don't belong nowhere other than here because I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
So I do this for those kind of people.
Yeah.
You know, because they've lost the curiosity element to know that they can go outside and continue to kind of face things without feeling like they're inadequate,
right?
And feeling afraid. Because I was talking to a buddy the other day, you know, another veteran guy, you know, just kind of like just some reassurance stuff, and I can kind of see it in his eyes and stuff that he kind of struggling with some stuff. You know what I'm saying? And I told him, like, you know, I always use that methodology of the, you know, your life is built on house cards. You know, you got the foundation is with your valuable cards, the kings and the ace of spades and all that. You know, you build your foundation with them joints, and then you got all the clubs and all that stuff at the top. But I said, whatever habits that you got, or whatever company you keep, or whatever trigger that happens is going to take away one of the cards, and your house is going to fall down. It's probably going to be one of your high cards. It's going to be the valuable foundation. Like, you can lose things in threes. You can lose your freedom. Because I was on par for losing my freedom. Alcohol. What if I go out and T-bone someone?
Yes. Your
freedom, your livelihood, you get fired
from your job.
You lose your life. You know what I'm saying? And I was looking at, like, sometimes, like, the high power who's governing whatever it is that you're supposed to kind of be doing out here is going to warn you. There's going to be writers on the wall, and your warning may be in the form of someone in your circle.
Right. Or
it can be you, but he may just give you, okay, you're going to lose your girlfriend.
Right.
You're going to get a divorce, but you're still alive. You know,
wow.
But if you don't see the writers on the wall, then you're just going to, that plug can be pulled.
Perished.
And you can lose your freedom. Like, you don't want to wait until you're doing 20 years to finally get it.
Some people do.
Yeah.
But if that's what it takes.
That's what it takes. Yeah.
So, you know, you're saying that you see the writing on the wall, you ignore them, you see more writings, you ignore them, and then finally you keep going deep until you can't go anymore. You reach the bottom, and it's the worst that you can ever be, and then you finally get it.
You know, yep, that's exactly right.
So some people have to get to that level.
Have to.
Unfortunately. But yeah, and some people can see it quickly.
Yeah.
Which one are you? Which one are you going to be? And whoever, you know, is experiencing that has to figure that out.
Yeah.
You know, figure that out. And if they don't figure it out, eventually if you go to the bottom, that's where the last person you can be without losing your life, then eventually you will lose your life. But even if you get to that point either, it's fine.
It's fine, yeah.
You get to come back and redo it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, you get to come back and redo it. So it's cool.
Yes, sir.
I'm glad to have you on the show, and definitely, you know, as I tell all my guests, we definitely have to do this again.
Yeah.
I just thank you for being here, man, and sharing your stories, and I wish you the best of luck in your endeavors and being the best trainer possible and getting most amazing clients, and whatever other career path that you choose. Blessings, man. 100%.
No doubt, man.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, just grab life by the balls, man, and just have fun. You gotta have fun in the process, like I told you before.
Yeah.
Do not give up joy just because you're trying to find your way. Hold on to joy, and the way will be presented to you.
Will do, man.
Trust. Is there anything you want to say to the people, my listeners?
Just pretty much remember, it's all in your mindset. If you're trying to lose X amount of weight because you're trying to fit in that dress, if you're trying to get that master's degree, if you're trying to do whatever, just understand, like, everybody had to go through some form of adversity, and it's going to be dependent upon, like, your level of resiliency, to be able to kind of traverse that wall that's going to be there, because it's always going to be there. And just always remember, like, man, you can do it. And fitness is one of the primitive and premier accountability models that I live by, that's consistent for everybody. It keeps you accountable because you have to always be driven to even put the first step into the gym. and the results is going to come the more consistent you are. You know, the facts are there. There's no hacks to it. You know, so
no magic pill.
No magic pill. You know, everybody's timeline is different.
Enjoy the journey of it.
Yep, enjoy the journey, and a part of that journey is going to be pain, the good pain.
Yeah,
you know,
it's good pain, bad pain,
and just enjoy life, man. I definitely appreciate the humble to even be here. Just had the opportunity to come here, especially the Fit 360. It's bigger than the gym, man. It's a movement.
It's a movement, yeah, man.
The guys literally the only people that feel like family, like mentors, man, and the whole nine. You know. And I've been to a couple other places and stuff before here, man. But this is the only place that has a well-rounded wealth of knowledge.
Life continues here.
Yes, sir.
Bro.
Hey.
It's good to have you, man.
Good
Appreciate
to be
you
here,
for
man.
coming through, man.
No doubt,
right.
man.